HISD TV. My name is Jennifer Oneal. I'm a math and science teacher development specialist here in the district. Today our math focus is going to be on I can compose two-dimensional shapes based on given properties and attributes. We're going to have a lot of fun today. Before we get started though, there are a few things that I want to make sure that you have. I want to make sure it's something that you have something to write with and something to write on. That can consist of a notebook, white piece of paper, a dry erase board, or any combination of both. You can also use a dry erase marker, a pen, or either a pencil, or any combination. All right, let's dive in. Let's begin our vocabulary practice. Today we have some vocabulary words that we're going to review. I want you to say the word after me. Two-dimensional shape. Good job. Our next word is vertex. Good job. Our next word for today is side. Good job. Our next word is attribute. Good job. I want you to use those vocabulary words throughout today's learning. So now we're going to begin with our two-dimensional shapes. And what are those two-dimensional shapes? Our definition for two-dimensional shapes a flat closed figure with only two dimensions, which is the length and the width. That is what a two-dimensional shape is. Now let me draw some examples for you. A circle is a two-dimensional shape. A square is a two-dimensional shape. A triangle is also a two-dimensional shape. And a trapezoid is also a two-dimensional shape. All righty, let's continue. Now let's go to our vertex. Vertex is the point where the sides of a polygon meet. So it's the point where the polygon meets. Here is a vertex. This is the point where our polygon meets. I'm going to put a dot there so you can really see that that is where the vertex is located. Our next vocabulary word is side. A side, a line segment connected to other line segments that form a 2D figure. So I'm going to draw a 2D figure of a square. I'm going to draw a square today. And now I'm going to locate our sides for us. Here's a side. Here's a side. Here is one side. And here is one side. So we have four sides on this square. Our next vocabulary word is attribute. Attribute, a characteristic or a distinctive feature of an object. Attribute. So now I want to draw a square again. And the attributes of a square is we have four straight lines. another attribute of a square is all sides are congruent. Now we have listed 2 attributes of a square. So let's review really quick. We have 4 vocabulary words that we're going to be using throughout today's learning. 2-dimensional shapes. We have a circle, a square, a triangle, a trapezoid. Remember, 2-dimensional shapes are with the 2 dimensions of a length and a width. Our next vocabulary word is vertex. It's the point where the sides of a polygon meets. So this is my point where these 2 sides meet. And I have a dot there so you can really see where those 2 sides meet. Then we have side, a line segment connected to other line segments that form a 2D figure. I drew a square. I have a line here, a line across, and a line here. Those are considered sides. Then I have attributes, a characteristic or distinctive feature of that object. So that's basically me describing that object. I listed another square, and I listed 2 attributes, 4 straight lines, and all sides are congruent. Those are my 2 attributes of a square. Now, I want you to either pause the video or take a picture because you're going to be using a lot of your vocabulary throughout today's learning. Let's begin. Alrighty, for this segment, we're going to review some examples of regular figures and irregular figures. A regular figure is a polygon with all sides and corners that appear to be the same or equal. An irregular figure a polygon with all sides and corners that appear to be different or equal. So now, I want to draw us some examples. You may be able to think of some examples while you're at home as well. So you can jot some things down on your piece of paper as well. So let's start with the irregular figures. A regular figure with all the sides that are the same and equal, my first one is going to be a circle. My next regular figure will be a triangle. All my sides are equal, they're all the same, right? Then my next figure is going to be a square. So I drew 3 regular figures. And remember what those regular figures definition is. A polygon with all sides and corners that to appear to be the same or equal. Now we have irregular. Irregular is a polygon that have all sides and corners, but they're different or they're unequal. So let me draw my first one. An irregular triangle where all the sides are not the same or they appear to be a little different. A rectangle where all my sides again are different. They're not equal. They appear to be different. An oval where they're all different. All my sides and all my corners, they're different. They appear to be different. So here's my examples of irregular. Here are my examples of regular figures. Now we're about to dive into our practice time. So now, what I want you guys to think about before we dive in, I want you to think about this question. What attributes can tell me how to recognize and create 2D shapes? I'm going to say that again. What attributes can tell me how to recognize and create 2D shapes? Behind me, I have something I want you to create at home. I want you to take your piece of paper and I want you to divide it down the middle. You can do your wiggly line just like Miss Oneal did. On one side, I want you to draw some pattern blocks. I want you to draw 2 orange pattern blocks that I have here, the 2 green pattern blocks, and then 1 blue. On the other side, I want you to draw the red pattern block and also the blue pattern block and 1 green pattern block. So Miss Oneal already drawn hers, so I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to draw yours. And don't forget, I also want you to add on here the question at the bottom. What is the name of the new shape? Because we're going to be creating and trying to recognize some new 2D shapes. Alrighty, so now let's begin. I'm going to take these pattern blocks and I'm going to create me a new 2D shape. So now I'm going to start with my 2 orange, and I'm going to also use my matching marker so that I can help identify what I'm doing, okay? So now I'm going to draw my 2 orange patterns. Okay, so I did that. Next, I'm going to draw my 2 green patterns. And then now, I'm going to take my blue, and I'm going to draw my blue one that I have. It's going to overlap a little bit. So now, I have created a new shape. And overlaps a little bit. So now I want to focus on me identifying the vertices. And I know you remember me talking about what vertices are. So in this particular problem, I want to notice my vertices. So we're going to label the vertices. I have one here at the very top. This is my vertices 1. I have one here. My vertices 2. I have one here. Vertices 3. I have another vertices. 4. I have another one here. Vertice 5. And remember what a vertice is. Vertice is where those lines, where those sides meet. So I have 5 vertices in my new 2D figure. A shape with 5 vertices is called a pentagon. So I'm going to write that down. This new shape that I have is a pentagon because it has 5 vertices. The shape that I created is an irregular pentagon. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vertices. Now my new shape is called a pentagon, and it is considered an irregular shape. Now let's move on. Now I have here my pattern block that's red, blue, and green. I'm going to start with my red. Miss Oneal's drawing the best way that she can. I want you to also do the same thing. I want you to take your time and draw the best way that you can. Now, I also want to draw a blue pattern block. Now, I'm going to draw my green pattern block, which it does overlap a little bit. So now, instead of me focus on vertices, I want to focus on identifying my sides. Remember those sides. We discussed what those were earlier, and we even labeled. So now we're going to label these sides. Sides are those lines where the vertices meet. So you see our vertices and the sides, they all work together. So I have my side. And I'm going to put an S for side. Side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4, side 5, and side 6. So now a shape with 6 sides is called a hexagon. So my new shape on this side is called a hexagon. My new shape that I created using my pattern blocks is called a hexagon. So now let's review. In my first pattern block, I used all of my pattern blocks and I created a new shape. My new shape is called a pentagon. That pentagon has 5 vertices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it is an irregular pentagon. Then my new shape here, I use all of my pattern blocks again. And now my new shape has 6 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is called a hexagon. So now I have used my vertices and my sides to help me create 2D figures. Let's continue some more practice. Now we're going to continue some more practice. But before we dive into some more practice, I want you to think about this question again. What attributes can tell me how to recognize and create 2D shapes? What attributes can tell me how to recognize and create 2D shapes? So now let's dive into some more practice. At the top here, I have some pattern blocks. I have 3 blue pattern blocks, 3 green pattern blocks. On this side, I have 3 blue pattern blocks, and then I have 2 red pattern blocks. So now if you take on the flip side of your paper, on the other side of your paper, or take another piece of paper, and I want you to divide your paper up, just like Miss Oneal did, and I want you to draw out those pattern blocks the best way that you can. And then now we're going to dive into creating some more 2D shapes because we want to name our shapes after we create them. So I think I'm going to start with my blue pattern blocks because I have a lot of those. And I also have my green ones. So I'm going to start with both. And I'm going to draw those out for you so we can create our new shape. All right, so wow, that's one that I have used already. Now, let's see if I can identify green. There's my green pattern block. So I'm already creating all of my pattern blocks. Wow, man, I'm using all of my shapes to create another shape. So now I've used all, and I'm going to do a kind of a double here so you can kind of just see here where I have kind of put together my pattern blocks here. So I put my green and my blue pattern blocks, together to make this one new 2D shape. So what does this shape look like to you? What is that shape? Yes, you're correct. It is a triangle. So our new shape is a triangle. I created a triangle as my new shape. Now, what I want us to count is the vertices again. So remember what vertices is. It's at the corner here. So I have one vertices. I have another vertices here. And another vertices here. So I have 3 vertices. Wow. So I have identified that it is a triangle as a shape and it has 3 vertices. And I use all of my pattern blocks. So now, again, we have 3 blue pattern blocks and 2 red. What shape can we come up with? Wow, I've used 2 of my red ones already. So now I'm gonna blend in here my 3 blue. Wow, so I have my 3 blue pattern blocks. What does this look like to you? But before we go there, I want us to be able to count the sides and the vertices on this one. So we're going to do a little bit more on this one. I want us to count the sides and the vertices. So now, I'm going to use a different color. I have a side 1, a side 2, a side 3, and over here is my side 4. So I have 4 sides. Let's count our vertices. That's the corner. I have a vertices here. I'm going to put a V there for vertex 1, vertex 2, vertex 3, vertex 4. So my new shape has 4 sides and 4 vertices. My new shape is called a quadrilateral. It is called a quadrilateral. I created a quadrilateral, and it is also called a trapezoid. So I created a big trapezoid, and it has 4 sides and 4 vertices. Then over here, I created a triangle that has 3 vertices. Let's review what we did today. Today we covered composing 2D shapes based on given properties or attributes. You may want to pause or take a picture for use after the video ends. Now it's your turn to practice on your own. Let's practice. Create a shape with 3 sides and 3 vertices. Then write the name of the shape. I want you to use this red pattern block and the green pattern block in order to create your shape that has 3 sides and 3 vertices. If you need more assistance with this activity from today, reach out to your teacher. And again, thank you for tuning in to HISD